then. Here are 5 things that my grandmother's kind of messy marriage taught me about life. Now, I shared part of the story a few years ago and it went viral, but we didn't actually get to the nitty-gritty because there were time constraints. Here's what I didn't share and the life-shifting lessons. So my grandmother was once married to this man whom she loved very, very much. They tried to have kids together, but every child that she gave birth to died at birth. She was absolutely devastated about the situation and she was desperate to fix it. She actually confided in an older family friend whom she thought and felt that she could trust. This woman counseled her, but unbeknownst to my grandmother, this woman actually thought that her daughter would be a much better fit for my grandmother's husband. Oh, Jesus. And so she set up her daughter behind my grandmother's back with my grandmother's husband. I mean, diabolical behavior. That family friend's daughter ended up getting pregnant by my grandmother's husband. Lesson number 1. Please be careful who you share your problems with. Be careful with the people who you trust with your secrets. This isn't about being cynical, but not everyone has your best interests at heart, and not everyone will act with your best interest at heart. Use discernment with everything that you share, and remember that the length of a connection does not determine the quality of the connection. Of course, my grandmother found out about the affair, the kid, everything. But guess what? As strong as she was, and my grandmother was strong, she stayed. And this breaks my heart. She kept trying to nurture, trying to fix an obviously very broken situation in an even more broken man. She felt like there were no other options for her but to stay. Please keep in mind that this was way back in the day in Nigeria. If my grandmother was still alive today, she would be way past 100. There are also some other cultural nuances that were at play, like everything being the woman's fault, and putting both the blame and the need for forgiveness to look the other way at her husband's transgressions on her. So after the debacle with the affair, my grandmother did eventually give birth to a son, but one child was apparently not enough for her husband's family. They decided that he should marry someone else, and they had the perfect person for him. So he took my grandmother to court to divorce her. Lesson number 2. If someone doesn't want you, value you, cherish you, respect you, it doesn't matter how beautiful, kind, accommodating, generous you are. It doesn't matter how much you try to please them or fix them or desperately hold on to them. You cannot make them want you because they do not want you. When they got to court, she told the judge that she didn't want a divorce. The judge looked at her with pity and said, "There's nothing I can do. He," pointing at her husband, "wants to divorce you." So the judge granted the divorce and my grandmother left her husband's house with the only child that she had. Lesson number 3. Sometimes we hold on. We fight tooth and nail to hold on to the very thing that is destroying us. The very thing that is keeping us in quicksand. The very thing that is keeping us from greatness, from our miracle, from our destiny. We'll say that we want change, but we'll refuse to let go, to let in the very thing that will set us free. Not long after the divorce, my grandmother was introduced to this gentleman. He had been married before as well. They met. It was a match. Now, this gentleman was older, around 60 years old. But guess what? After 6 miscarriages in her other marriage, my grandmother got pregnant. She gave birth to my mom at 40, my uncle at 43, and my aunt at 45. And listen, back then, a 40-year-old and a 60-year-old, it looked bleak. Lesson number 4. When life whispers to you, move, shift, get out, and you don't listen, the whisper will get louder. If you still don't listen, life will get louder. Get out, it'll say. What that usually looks like is the ultimate level of discomfort. But hey, you still don't listen. So life does what it has to do. It pushes you out. My grandmother used to say that she thought that being pushed out of that first marriage was the worst thing that could have ever happened to her. She didn't know that she was being pushed into her destiny. And if she didn't get pushed out, my mother wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be here. Here's the interesting thing. Because of the way that he treated my grandmother's ex-husband used to feel so ashamed to come around their house to see his son. He would linger outside. He would never want to come inside. But in spite of his despicable behavior, both my grandparents were incredibly kind to him. My grandfather would say to him, "Come in, this is your son's home, you're always welcome here." My mom said that she remembered when she was little that when my grandmother's ex-husband would come around, he would look at her and say, "Wow, I could have had a daughter like you." My mother continued to be kind to him later in his life. It's what she witnessed with her parents. He would ask for help, for money, she would send it to him. My grandmother's ex-husband married 2 more times after my grandmother. And then he had another relationship with a very young lady, but none of them stuck around. He unfortunately died alone. Lesson number 5. Being angry is like drinking poison and wishing that the person that you're angry at will die. The poison is going into your body. It is so easy to hold on to anger and resentment, but honestly, the best revenge is to live your life and to live it well. Leave karma to life. No one does it better. And speaking of letting go, here's a bonus lesson. You cannot reel in what you want if you don't let go.
Yeah.
If you don't make space, if you don't release what is in your hand, what you are desperately trying to hold on to. My grandmother's blessing was right around the corner the entire time. All she had to do was let go, release, and take a peek around that corner.